Hey, Bullseye fans, it's Jesse, and I've got a really great interview coming up for you with Vincent D'Onofrio, who, of course, is the star of the new Daredevil show, among many other things, Law & Order, Criminal Intent, and Full Metal Jacket, and maybe the greatest episode of television of all time on Homicide, Life in the Streets, all kinds of great stuff. But I am here before we watch that just to say this is the Max Fun Drive, which is Bullseye is produced by a company called Maximum Fun. We are a worker-owned cooperative that produces podcasts, and we are 100% worker-owned, and we are primarily supported by membership. So that means folks like you who are listeners and viewers who go to MaximumFun.org/join and sign up to give us $5 or $10 a month. You get cool stuff. There's a lot of cool stuff you can get. There's exclusive episodes that you can get only at MaximumFun.org/join, but also it's what makes this possible. And this is a big new endeavor for us, the video specifically. We hired a whole new full-time employee to work on this, and we need to pay him. So we're hoping you'll show up for us by going to MaximumFun.org/join. That's MaximumFun.org/join. All right, here's Vincent D'Onofrio.
Yes, the son of a boxer. You're all running this place. You did set him free. You ask such small questions, Mr. Murdoch. I know. You're regaining power in here. Yes, ask my lawyer. He'll deny it. Ask the guards. They'll deny it. Ask the inmates here. They'll cut their tongues out before they talk. But I have something to say to you. When I finally get out of this cage, I will dismantle the lives of the two amateurs that put me in here. You, Mr. Murdoch, and Franklin Percy Nelson.
Vincent D'Onofrio, welcome to Bullseye. That's like the highest intensity audio content that's ever played on National Public Radio, I think.
Yeah, it's weird to just listen to the audio of it because it's such like a action-packed scene.
Exactly.
I believe it's the scene where we're like holding each other intensely, like brutally over the interrogation desk, right? Is that what it is?
Yeah, I think that's right.
Is that what's happening in the scene? Something like that, yeah.
I mean, it's also such an intense, like, aesthetic experience watching the show with, outfits. And I mean, like, you're a giant dude in a giant special outfit. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
the white suit draws all of the eyes on the screen into you. And then you can be like as grand as you would like to be and kind of carry that weight. It's a hoot. It's really fun.
It's quite a character to be able to play. I love the character. Been doing it for like almost 10 years now. It's crazy, off and on.
Do you feel like it's different now for you?
No, because there's a way that I established playing him for the first season of the Netflix show that is very kind of personal and intense in a way. Like even his voice even comes from an emotional event in my life. And so when I'm speaking his voice, it doesn't matter if he's in love or if he's having fun or if he's in pain or frustrated or angry. It's always coming through this particular event that happened in my life. And so that's how I found his voice, his actual literal, that's how I found him vocally, I should say. And so that kind of takes the lead and then everything else sort of falls into place.
Are there like physical things that you remember? Like, are there touch points? Is there a place you put your tongue or a way that you hold a shoulder that help you stay locked in?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, he has a completely different posture than me. And so basically when I'm playing him, I sort of consciously deplete myself of all anxiety and I'm in a total relaxed state. And then I start to bring the scene on through that. And so like touch points would be emotional touch points more than physical touch points. But still, when I stand completely, when I'm standing up and my shoulders are back and I'm doing his like big posture, also I would call that a touch point too, yeah.
How do you feel doing that stuff physically at, your age. I mean, we're not in the same room. You look pretty healthy to me.
Yeah, I'm pretty healthy, yeah.
But you're also not a 26-year-old.
I'm not. And so I stopped putting the weight on for him, and I kept the weight on for many years with the first iteration. And then when I did Hawkeye, and then when we did Echo, I had been investigating suits that make your body look bigger and sometimes muscular, sometimes just heavier weight. And they started to get really good. There was this one version that NASA made that was a really good version, and I tried that for Echo, and it worked really well. And so since Echo, which is a while ago now, like almost 4 years ago, I think. So during that, I realized that I could wear these suits. I could take the weight off that I had put on, get super fit, and play them. And then I realized, of course, this is because I never trusted those suits before because they always looked silly to me, those kind of body suits that you wear under your clothes to make you look bigger. But they work. They're really good. And we did that all for Echo. We did it for the first season of the new series, Born Again, and I'm going to keep wearing those. So now I'm just like really my fighting weight now. Like I can stay really fit, and it's much easier to get through the season and get through all the fight scenes. I can do more stunts on my own now and stuff, wearing this suit that puts weight on me. And it's I'm able to stay healthy. So actually, my job is really to keep up with these younger guys. I have to do it. So it's like I'm super fit.
How much weight did you have to hold that you don't have now?
It's probably around, I think when I was doing the original series, it was probably about 40 pounds or something like that, 50 pounds. Maybe I went up, fluctuated between 40 and 50 pounds. I usually kept it around there, and then it was less and less.
When you say that this new suit that you're wearing was made for NASA, what does that mean?
NASA made a suit that I believe it was the one that I wore in Echo. The fabric is from NASA, I think. This is what I've heard. It's very, very lightweight. It's like how like when you pick up a sneaker that looks like it's heavy and then it weighs absolutely nothing, sort of like that.
Is it a bunch of different pieces? Like, does it go all the way down to your wrists kind of thing?
It goes from the wrist to the ankles, and it's one piece that you slide into your legs first. You put it on like a pair of pants because the muscles are actually molded off of your own body structure. So it's your muscles being enhanced, and they do that obviously with digital. These things that they walk around you, and the digital scans your whole body very specifically, very intricately. And then it's just made into this like whole body. So you kind of step into this body, pull it on like a pair of really tight pants, and then you put the top on, which is attached to it hangs off you in the front, and you put your arms through it front ways, and then they zip it up in the back.
Did you have to like stand in a scanner room in your underpants?
I've never scanned in my underpants. And I feel like that's a very personal question you just asked me there, Jess. And I think
I'm a journalist, Vincent.
Yeah, that's your excuse. That's good.
It's a little something called journalism.
It's a good excuse. It's a good question.
I think you're such a wonderful physical actor. And you're also like big. You're 6'4", right? We're not sitting in the same room. And, you read as big on screen, but also like a camera really changes the way that somebody's size plays. It's really hard to see what size someone is when they're on camera. Is it different for you acting on stage using your body and acting on camera using your body? Or are you making the same kind of choices and letting the person behind the lens worry about it?
That's a very specific question. Nobody's ever asked me that before. So I think when it comes to performance, I think it's the same. I don't think it's that different. The only thing that's different about a physical performance on stage, there's no cutting. So it's like you're doing the whole play, and so you the way you've mapped out your character's movement throughout the whole play, throughout all the acts that you're in, it's playing more of a long game, you know? Like you can play a long game with the movie script too, but that's more about the arc. But if you're talking about movement on stage and actually getting out on stage, staying out there for a full act and then going on a second act and stuff like that, that's all been rehearsed and it's all been sorted so you can maintain energy and display incredible amounts of energy. Like you have to pace yourself, you know, on a play. And so it's kind of, there's that kind of thinking that's a bit different. On a movie, it's just like you plan your arc in the film and you plan how your character is aesthetically going to look and feel and sound. But when it comes to doing actual performance, is you just go full on each take, you know, and then back to zero again, rest, and then go full on again. You know, it's like you don't have to really think about a long game of you know, making it through because you get a rest, you know, because it's just film. You can do it again and again and again.
It occurred to me that you've been working for like 40 years. And for a lot of that, you were not someone who put yourself forward other than in your performances. And being the Kingpin on a series of, you know, Marvel television shows necessitates you doing so, right? Like that's part of the job is that you also like go to Comic-Con and are Vincent D'Onofrio and people shake your hand or ask you questions on a panel.
Yeah.
Have you gotten more comfortable with that at this point in your life and career?
Yeah, I have. I think it's because it's narrowed down to just that. Like when I do a Comic-Con, the people that are there are very unique people. They're you know, people call them nerds, whatever you want to call them, but they're just big fans of science fiction and fantasy stuff. And the amount of fans is incredible. You know, the size of them. It's an immense group of people. And so when you go to the panels, when we do D23, the Disney 23 conventions, and there's, you know, sometimes there's, you know, 60,000 people there, you know. It's like, I get that it's part of the deal. It's part of the job, you know, when it comes to this kind of stuff. I think that's what you're alluding to anyway. It's definitely a different world when you work for Marvel or you do any kind of blockbusters like this that has a franchise, you know. It's a whole different deal.
I mean, like Men in Black is no less genreic and is, if anything, you know, more popular and successful. I mean, it's like one of the most popular blockbuster films of my lifetime, right? You're one of the stars of the film, but also that job is not like being the Kingpin. You know,
No.
It's monumentally popular. It's sci-fi. It's all of these other things, but like you're not going to Men in Black Con.
Yeah, no. It's interesting you bring Men in Black up because like I've always thought, like when I play parts of that size in a movie, they're not leads, they're supporting roles, they're like character roles. And I love doing that kind of stuff. I do it all the time. I've done it my whole career, all the time. And so what happens is like I usually, most of my career, just sneak into a movie and sneak out of the movie. I don't do press for it. Like it's like a part that speaks for itself, you know. Like a lot of people don't even know that I'm the guy in Men in Black. You know, it's like when I do Comic-Cons, like people will see the pictures of me in Men in Black and they wonder why it's there in front of me. Like they had no idea that it was me. Yeah. And like the same guy, like Marine Corps guys will come over and had no idea that the guy that did this movie, Full Metal Jacket, is the same guy in Men in Black, you know. And so that's been going on my whole career. That's nothing new. And I can just go back and name a bunch of crazy roles that I played I was always just kind of in and out of the movies. I never really made a big fuss, you know.
Can I ask you about Men in Black for a minute? I happen to have watched it relatively recently.
Yeah, you can ask me anything you like. Yep.
I hadn't seen it since it was like in movie theaters, I guess, or maybe shortly after it was in movie theaters. I rented it on VHS or something. And your character, for folks who don't remember, is like the main alien guy, and your job as an actor in that movie, and you said you weren't the lead in the movie. I'm going to give you at least secondary lead. Look, you're not Will Smith or Tommy Lee Jones, but anyway, your job as an actor in this movie is you have to be a guy who does not know how to use a body. So how did you, first of all, did you have to go in and audition against a bunch of like mimes and no, you got invited?
I got invited by the director. Actually, there's this wonderful producer that's been producing films for a long time named Stacey Scher. She like used to work for Danny DeVito's company back in the day, and now she does Tarantino films. But she's an amazing producer, and we became friends. I did a film with Keanu called Feeling Minnesota, where we play brothers, Cameron Diaz and Keanu. So we met on that. She produced that, and I got a call from her one day, and it was, she said, I'm friends of Barry Sonnenfeld, the director of this film, and he wants to give you a script, but you need to promise that you won't talk to him about acting or performance or anything like that. And I said, really? And she goes, yeah, he's nervous because he doesn't, want to talk about that kind of stuff. And I'm like, okay. Like, I go remind him that I worked for Stanley Kubrick, and Kubrick was exactly the same way. They didn't want to talk about anything. Just wanted to, see what we were going to do and then shoot it the best way he could.
I mean, Barry Sonnenfeld was on this show recently, and the man thinks in camera moves. There's no question that everything is a composition in his mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's an incredible, I remember knowing him from his early films when he was a DP. He's a shot designer. He's amazing at it too. And he's like a hell of a dude, to work with. So Vincent, he literally showed up an hour early for his interview because he wanted to make sure that his shot of him on this radio interview was framed correctly. I believe it.
Yeah, it was great.
I believe it. Yeah, I'm sure. No, that's what he's like. So And so I said, okay, I won't. And I went forward and created this whole character. Rick Baker and I, Rick Baker did all the special effects. And so Rick and I became very close on that show because we worked with each other for months before we started shooting. Rick was developing the look of the character. I was developing his voice and his movement. And so on our own, we were doing stuff, and then we would come together in his office, and I would show him what I was going to do. And so we all, his work was incredible. He trusted me and I trusted him. And then one day we eventually ended up on set, and I had to perform a scene, and Barry had never seen what I was going to do, had no idea.
And he didn't it wasn't like he gave you 6 sentences it was just you and special effects legend Rick Baker go and come back with something and we'll shoot it.
Yeah, I can't speak for what Rick and him discussed. I have no idea. But I know that when it came to myself, Rick was the only one that was seeing what I was doing every day and what it was turning out to be. And I was being inspired by him, and he was being inspired by me. There was a journalist that actually many, many years later, only a few years ago actually, came to both of us. I think it's 6 or 7 years ago, came to both Barry and I and wanted to do an article about each side of our story when it came to the development of my character, because she had heard that we didn't talk about it. And so she interviewed us both, and our stories matched perfectly. What happened on set that day is during my first take, Barry, very nicely, of course, he cleared the set, and I was the only one left on set. And he asked me to do it again. And he said, "Are you going to do that the whole time?" And I was like, oh, the blood ran out of my body. And I'm like, yeah, this is all I got. He goes, well, do it again. And I did it again. And I could just see his face. He was like, oh my God, I can't, this could be horrible or it could be great. Okay, let's just do it, and we'll just keep shooting it this way and we'll see what happens. So That's the last time we spoke about the character and any scene for anything. And then, so it was like, good mornings and good nights and no discussions. We kept shooting all my scenes. And eventually I realized that we'd shot so much that I probably wasn't going to get fired. So I just kept doing it, and I ended up in the film.
Oh, a man came in here earlier. A dead man.
And that means what to me?
He was a very dear friend of mine. I believe he had an animal with him. It was a gift I gave him. A pet cat. It means worlds to me. I'd like to have it back.
I just can't believe how much he trusted me. There's been a few directors, like I said, that have done that. So it's like I'm very lucky that way.
Who were the others?
Stanley Kubrick and Antoine Fuqua.
It's interesting because Kubrick has a reputation for having been the most obsessive director in terms of controlling every aspect of the production that could exist on Earth. But that didn't extend to you as an actor. That was more about the mise en scène and so forth.
Well, he was very particular. Like if you didn't know your lines, you were not going to be his best friend, And that was my first film, so I knew all my lines for sure. Like, I mean, I still do, obviously, but like there was no way I was going to be in a Stanley Kubrick film. I didn't know my lines. It's like ridiculous.
Was Full Metal Jacket your first film, or was it the trauma summer camp sexploitation film, The First Turn On?
That's right. Yeah. For those guys over there at Troma, which was a crazy company. And then I was going to do another one with them too, but I got fired from it somehow.
What do you have to do to get fired from a Troma movie?
I think I didn't want to wear the nose or I don't know. I was talking to somebody from Troma a few years ago, and they told me it was because they wanted me to wear a red nose. And I didn't want to wear the red nose for whatever reason. This is what I hear. I don't remember the exact reasons or anything. And I was just told not to come. And so I didn't go.
Like a realistic red nose or like a clown nose?
No, like a clown nose, yeah. So I guess they got somebody to wear the red nose. I don't know. But, I was still friendly with those guys. Those guys are awesome,
That's such a literal expression of what an actor would object to in a role. Like, what, I'm a clown to you? Like, what do you want me to wear a red nose on my nose? And they're like, could you please wear this red nose on your nose?
But I remember exactly because I had lost my apartment from not being able to pay rent. Because, I was in my I was very young. I did Full Metal Jacket when I was 24, so I must have been 20 or something like that, and doing plays and working in bars and stuff like that. And yeah, so I remember my grandfather I was on the phone. There was no cell phones. And I was on the phone and my grandfather's sitting across from me. I was staying with him. And he's whispered to me, "You're going to lose that job, And I'm like, "Yeah, I know." He goes, "You don't care?" And I'm like, "No, I don't care." And he goes, "Whatever you're going to do, make sure you're friends when you end it. Whether you do the job or not, just end it as friends." That's what he told me. And I'll never forget that,
Have there been other times that you've been in a position to remember your grandfather's advice?
It used to happen a lot on Criminal Intent. I insisted that I never wanted to play a cop on that show. I just wanted to play a man who was a cop. And so sometimes there were people that wanted me to act more like a cop. And I didn't really know. I don't know what that means. So I did all my research, and I did all the interrogation research, the interviewing research. I did all that. I had an opportunity on that show to learn from interrogators and interviewers in law enforcement and from federal to local. So the stuff that I was doing on that show was rooted in the real psychology of interrogation or interviews. And so, yeah, so they would put choices upon me that I would just refuse to do. It's like I'd never met a agent or officer. If you meet them when you're not being handcuffed, they're a person. When you're being handcuffed, they're not a person, they're a law enforcer. But when you meet them under any circumstance other than that, they're people, and they're more interesting as people than they are as cops. Obviously they would be. I think all of us are more interesting than our jobs. So I used to run into a lot there. Very rare on films, though.
Do you miss having a job like Law and Order: Criminal Intent, where you go to work and then work all day and then come home? And it's like a kind of acting job that's pretty hard to get.
I think CI is a really bad example for that. CI worked their actors too much. The Times even did an article about it. It was crazy. Kate and I, we were in mostly every scene. I had more dialogue than anybody else on the show, at least 3 times more. And the two of us, Kate and I, we were up, we worked an average of 17, sometimes 18 hours a day, every day for 10 months. It was a brutal, brutal job. I got paid great and all that, but, I ended up giving my money back to them basically. And I mean, not directly, but I saved them a lot of money just so I started doing half the show. I just couldn't do it anymore. So to answer your question, to use Criminal Intent as an example is the wrong examples, but yes, I do like that solid job feeling, I think nowadays, because of streaming and stuff, I can go and have a solid job with Marvel, and I can go and have a solid job with these people, and I can do them all at the same time. So, yeah, I like it.
You did an episode of Homicide, which is like, for my money, with all due respect to your Law and Order program, maybe the greatest cop procedural ever made.
For sure. I mean, I would agree with you 100%.
And the episode that you did was essentially a two-hander with you and Andre Braugher, where you were the guest star. Yeah. And you were a guy who was caught between the cars of the subway, or
caught between the platform and the subway car, yeah.
Yeah. And there was no way that the guy could be saved. And your character had to be told that over the course of the show, and it kind of fell to Andre Braugher. So Andre Braugher was like interviewing him for the murder investigation while also engaging with him about the fact that he was fully conscious and all the way there, but also there was no way to take him out of that situation without him dying.
Yeah, it was based on something that really happened. And so I was crushed from just above the waist down, I was crushed between the car and the platform. So if you were on the platform, you could only see me from the waist up, and my back was against the actual car, but my legs and the rest of my waist was hanging down, completely damaged. That's the idea of what happened. And, all I really remember about doing that is Andre Braugher and I, like, just sitting there for a few days doing this great dialogue that was written.
What are you, scared? It's not every day you talk to a dead man, huh? I want my fare back.
You what?
My $1.35. I paid my fare. I didn't get my ride.
No, you didn't.
Then I get it back.
All right.
You get it. You do what you want with it, but the hell if I get taken.
Okay, nobody's trying to take you.
Yeah, it was like one of my favorite things I've ever done.
Did you audition for that part?
No, I was asked to do it.
Did you know what you were going in to do?
Once I read it, yeah. And it's, you were spot on, like I approached it like a two-hander. I mean, that's what it was. So I just approached it like a play. And I just got all the dialogue, many, many pages of dialogue under my belt in a few days. So did Andre. And we just did it. We did it like a play every day.
Had you met him before?
No, I was thrilled to meet him. I think he was amazing.
It must have been wild. I mean, as I picture it in my mind, the two of you on the set, one of the things that strikes me is you must have been shooting for a week and you're stuck between subway cars. You know what I mean? Like, you're not literally stuck between subway cars, but there's got to be
stuck. Yeah,
there's got to be something there.
Yeah, no, the actor is stuck. Yeah.
Look, they found a lot of levels in the look.
Sure.
There's a lot of parts where Andre Braugher sits down next to you and that kind of thing. But like just the feeling of looking up at him the whole time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It was incredible. And then it got incredibly intimate, towards the end of the piece, where he was sort of eventually, he was so good. Like eventually he eventually ended up leaning into me a bit and being close to me and talking to me closer as the time came. And the more we got to know each other, the characters, I mean, it became a more intimate conversation. But, that piece would not have worked without whoever was playing that cop on the platform. Had to be great.
It really hit me when he passed away. I think I really loved him on Men of a Certain Age, in addition to Homicide and Brooklyn Nine-Nine. And, for a person that I had never met before in my life, I was really surprised at the extent to which it affected me that he wasn't around.
Yeah, there's these actors out there that just have put out incredible work their whole careers. They're not showboats. They don't do a lot of press. They don't put themselves out in front of projects. They lead from behind, and they're amazing. And he was one of those. I was shook up by the whole thing. I mean, I'm sure his family misses him very much. It was hard, yeah.
Vincent D'Onofrio, I'm so grateful for all your time and for your work as well. Thank you so much for talking to me.
Oh, you're welcome. That was a quick hour.